and welcome back into the North Star Takes podcast with Bailey Palicki and Jacob Liberta. You can find all our videos here on our YouTube channel, so hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and feel free to give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram as well. Today, we're going to be getting into more Minnesota Wild discussion as they've started training camp here. They even have a preseason game under their belt, actually. And after we record tonight, actually, they'll have a second one under their belt, I believe. So we're just going to kind of get into what the beat writers like Michael Russo have seen so far and reported. What's most important going into the season. We got Kaprizov under contract, so that's a huge monkey off the team's back. Now we can just focus on the hockey part of it, which is super awesome. So right off the bat here, we're just going to start talking some line combinations. It's been pretty widely reported that Joel Eriksson-Ek has been promoted to the first line center position. So he's going to be centering Kaprizov and Zuccarello, it's looking like right now, which I don't think there's too many complaints about that, honestly. As it stands right now, he's the best center on the team, so it only makes sense to put him with a guy like Kaprizov. And Kaprizov and Zuccarello are going to stick together because of how good of chemistry they had last year. So I don't think that comes as too big of a surprise to anybody. Second line is looking like Hartman, Greenway, and Foligno, which I understand keeping Greenway and Foligno together. And then obviously Hartman gets that promotion to second line center as well. With them moving Rask to the wing this year. So, but of course that means that Fiala gets bumped down to the third line. And this is where it gets a little hairy because then they have Freddie Gaudreau, who's a newcomer. He's always kind of been like a bottom six guy in the NHL. And then you got Victor Rask at left wing. And this is the issue I have is I just don't think Fiala deserves to be playing with Victor Rask. I personally hope that if Rossi and Boldy are both good enough to make this team, that we don't see like a Gaudreau and a Rask playing whatsoever. So what are your thoughts on Fiala being down on the third line, especially with the guys he's with?
Yeah, I really don't like that. I feel like Fiala is a dynamic playmaker, and I feel like you shouldn't be sticking it with line mates that are really borderline roster players.
Right.
I guess I would say that, like you said, I really hope Boldy and Rossi can take these guys' spots because I don't really want these guys getting a lot of ice time, especially with Fiala. I feel like you got to put guys in the ice that are also talented to just
Yes.
basically set them up with good goal scoring opportunities. That's what this guy does. He's very talented offensively. Obviously, he leaves a little something to be desired when he put on defense, but I would just say that it's a little disappointing coming to camp, and that's who we choose to put him with. But again, this is probably far from set in stone, so probably just going to see how it goes through training camp in the preseason. So more to come. But at this point, yeah, I'm a little unhappy with the way that's kind of shaken out for Fiala.
Yeah, and then so they had a preseason game the other night against the Blues. They kind of got rocked, but
Beckman scored a couple goals.
Beckman, yeah, who's super impressive. We'll get to him in a little bit here, but they had Greenway with Boldy and Rossi on a line, and I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
And from what people have said, it kind of sounds like they want like a stable veteran to be a presence on a line, especially if those two young guys end up playing together. It sounds like it's a possibility because apparently they've had great chemistry so far throughout camp. So that'd be interesting. But then Dean Evison basically came out after the game and said Jordan Greenway didn't play well enough. Like Boldy and Rossi played well, but the veteran that played with them, which was Greenway, did not play well enough. So I thought that was a unique criticism because Greenway, they've always kind of been on him to give more of an effort, to be more assertive. Last year, he finally put together a good season. It was good to see him put together a solid season, and now it sounds like he's kind of back to where he was before. So I'm kind of wondering if this is going to turn into a Charlie Coyle situation where he doesn't quite hit that potential that people think he can. But if that was the case, if he were to be on a line with those two, I think that would shoot Fiala up to the second line, or if whatever you consider the second and third line. I think those could be interchangeable, but I think Fiala would then play with Hartman and Foligno.
And I could get behind that. I think that'd be a pretty fun line, especially behind that top line with Eriksson-Ek and Kaprizov. So I'd be pretty psyched about that. Hopefully it shakes out like that.
Same, because honestly, Ryan Hartman had a good year last year, and I think he's pretty skilled actually. And he was, I think he started off as a winger with us last year, if I'm not mistaken, and then they converted him to center.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he deserves some love because he had a great season last year, like you said. And I think it's just great that he's coming into camp as the second line center. I think he definitely deserves it.
For sure. And it kind of seems like a foregone conclusion that Nico Sturm is going to be the fourth line center, which I'm totally fine with. He looked good last year. And honestly, I think he has potential to be even higher than a fourth line player. But with the way that the roster's stacking up, it's kind of hard to see that path for him right now, getting past the fourth line. Then you got Bugstad with him. And then right now they threw Boldy in on the fourth line as well at the lineup I'm looking at right now. But obviously that could be interchangeable. It could be Rask. It could be somebody else. It could be Beckman if he somehow makes the team. So
True.
jumping into the rookies, though, Rossi and Boldy obviously have been impressing early. Preseason game didn't go great with their line. I think their line as a whole was like -2 for all of them.
Ooh.
But yeah, so I'm not too worried about it. It's just their first preseason game. But throughout camp and stuff, they've looked good together. And then Beckman, who scored a couple goals in that preseason game and has really he's kind of been the surprise of camp so far. I think it's really encouraging that the Wild got 3 rookies here that are trying to push to make this squad.
Yes, honestly, I totally agree. And I think it even goes beyond these top 3 guys. I know Russo mentioned in one of his articles the other day that there's a couple other guys pushing for spots too with Connor Duar and Brandon Duheim. They call him Dewey 1 and Dewey 2. But they said these guys have been through a couple of years in Iowa, and they've gone through the development program. They feel like they're ready to push for NHL roster spots. And I know Duheim, the biggest thing with him is that he's a big dude. He's like 6'1", 200-some pounds. And the guy is very gritty and plays really physical. But then, like they said, Duar, he actually plays with a lot of honestly, just hockey intelligence. They said he's always in the right place at the right time, or at least knows where he needs to be. So the thing with him, though, is he's a little bit undersized. He's like 5'10", $180 or something. So these guys obviously aren't getting all the glitz and glamour, really, because everybody's really focused on the first-round picks with, Boldy and Rossi, like you should be. But and then even Beckman, too, lighting it up. Everybody's seen the stats in the minors to this point. But I think there's a lot of rookies that could honestly make this team or potentially make this team, especially if you're looking for a 13th forward or a guy to fill out the roster. Like if you don't feel like Boldy or Rossi are ready for some reason, you probably don't want them playing on the fourth line. So you probably just fill them in with one of these other guys who knows, maybe would take advantage of the opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, actually. One of these guys that has been through the ranks in Iowa, has worked their way up through the system. It's kind of like what we've seen with a couple of these Timberwolves guys that have developed over the last couple of years. Yeah, I think that they're in a great spot because either the rookies make it impossible for them to not be on the team, or if they're not quite ready yet, you have some guys who are also pushing that could easily be fourth-line NHL players. So I think that's extremely exciting for this team. Yeah, I think they're sitting in a really good spot right now, which you haven't been able to say about this Wild team for a little while.
Yeah, it's actual depth, which is so nice to have because obviously that definitely comes at a premium. Most teams don't really go that deep with their rosters. Usually you like to have a couple good lines, but I feel like this team, I think this team could really go 3, possibly 4 lines deep with the honestly all this young talent that we have just waiting in the wings.
Yeah, so that's going to be fun to see how that kind of turns out throughout training camp. Gosh, this team's just got the potential to be so exciting. If you add a player like Rossi to be on the ice with like a Kevin Fiala or, and like every line's going to have some intriguing player, which the Wild have just never had, honestly. So it's definitely a new age in the Minnesota Wild, and I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, we got a lot of playmakers.
We do, yeah. So it's super exciting. Lastly here, Foligno and Dumba were named the alternate captains. This was voted on by the players in the locker room. So I don't think Foligno was really a surprise because I think we both thought he could have maybe even been the captain when they announced that last year.
Yeah.
Are you surprised about Matt Dumba getting the nod to be an alternate, though?
I mean, I am and I'm not, just because I feel like he's probably been floated out there in trade rumors and things like that in the last couple of years. So, that seems kind of weird for us to make him an alternate captain. But maybe there really wasn't that much truth to that in the end. But long story short, I mean, I think probably when you think about it, holistically, look at the big picture, it's probably not that big of a surprise when he was one of our first round picks once upon a time, way back in 2012. And his first season he played here now was just about 8 years ago. And that was during that magical season where we won against the Avalanche, the first round playoffs in 7 there. And honestly, he's been a mainstay on this roster. Yeah, like one of the longest tenured Wild players, I think, along with Spurgeon. Yep. And so, I mean, it kind of makes sense in that regard. He probably earned his due because he's been here a while and he's been through it all. So I guess that's not too surprising. And I think he is kind of a leader already, or he was, and now even more so with the A. But like you said, Foligno, not too much of a surprise. Like you said, he could have been a captain, and then he's been here a little while now too. I looked it up today, and he's been here now since the summer of 2017. We traded Marco Scandella at the Buffalo, and got him as part of the package back. And then he's been here ever since. He's been a nice, steady player for us, and just really a vocal leader. And you could tell that whenever they're on and off the ice, that for sure you can just see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I always thought Erickson Ek could be in contention to get that A as well.
True.
And I've heard
Yeah.
people bring up Brodeen too, so that would be
Mhm.
that. You can make the case for that, either of those two defensemen, Dumba or Brodeen. But overall, I
Yeah.
don't think you can really go wrong with the choices they made.
No.
And I think what's different about this leadership group in totality is that they want everyone's opinions. They want
Yeah.
everyone to bring ideas forward. They don't want people to think they can't come up with ideas or bring stuff forward and address things. I think that's how it kind of was underneath the Parisi, Suter, Koivu locker room. So
Yeah.
definitely signals a shift in the culture of this team.
Yes, for sure. I really like that those comments they had to make when the Wild released that video of them talking in the locker room after they were awarded the A's. They're like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, we're not just going to be a one man show. Basically, we want to hear from anybody and everybody on the team, whether you're a seasoned vet or a new rookie, just looking to make the roster. Like they want to hear from everybody, and they want everybody to have a voice in the locker room. And I think that's just the culture you kind of need, especially to really bring a team together. So that's really nice to see.
exactly. So yeah, we'll just have to see how this keeps unfolding throughout camp here, and the regular season is going to get started here within the next couple of weeks. So that's very
Yes,
exciting. Looking forward to that for sure.
yeah, quickly approaching.
Absolutely. So that's going to do it for this edition of the North Star Takes podcast. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit the like button as well. Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram, and leave your comments below about how you're feeling about the Wild's line combinations. If you agree with Foligno and Dumba getting the alternate captains, and if you think any of these rookies can make a jump and be a surprise right off the bat this season. Thanks for watching.